Chambers.
So look for Chambers to put an aggressive mark on here because he wants to force it down the sidelines.
Throws forward. Oh!
And he looked like he was
Hook pull that in?
Excellent athletic ability.
It's called in. Hook assumes position. He's got a pivot foot. Centers a disc. That's Milks. Milks to a BB. The BB to Harkness.
Excellent movement.
Harkness forward to Newgard. Hook looked off. Newgard throws forward. Seabart make a great catch with one hand. He dumps it forward. Might have been a bit of a travel. And Hook pulls that down. It's a point for BFC.
BFC is moving the disc very, very well. They're moving it quickly. They're not allowing Solid to set up on defense, and that makes it look a little bit easier. It was they had to work on it right in the middle of the field. They had to have one sort of pass that may have not been thrown, but then they recovered very quickly and moved into the end zone.
11-3 for BFC. Solid needs to.
As you can see here, great throw.
Excellent catch there. Now let's see this throw. This is what. No, not quite a travel.
He kept his foot on the ground.
The pivot was there. The pivot was there.
So if he left his foot up a bit, it would have been a travel. And
yes, that's right.
And that could have been called back.
That's right.
If
it was close.
Solid had called it. But
the marker wasn't quite looking at that point. Surprising decision to throw so quickly and deep by Sibert, but well done in the end. The receiver had the athletic ability to pull that down. Solid has lost a couple of players since this game has started. I've seen Dan Sauvé icing his knee on the sideline. Eric Budgel has left the game, I think probably to go and relieve his babysitter. Solid has to concentrate on its possession game now.
An interesting thing to note about Ultimate is you have players that keep on playing. They have kids that come back. It seems to be driven by a lot of, there's a wide diversity in Ultimate. There's older players, younger players. We're starting to get a lot more young players, taking them away from football and maybe soccer and things like that. Because it is an excellent game, and it's starting to be played in pretty much every high school. I actually coach a high school team, and the level of play is excellent.
Why don't you make a little plug for the school team?
Well, it's AY Jackson. And if they're listening right now, they better get to practice on Wednesday morning, bright and early.
That was Solid with the possession. They've turned over. L'Esperance taking the disc. He's marked by McDonald,
who's a wily veteran. I look him to outsmart him on the mark and maybe get a hand block.
L'Esperance is asking the cameraman to move aside. The cameraman reluctant to lose his angle.
Oh, and an
big
excellent
hand block.
And I called that. Did I not call that?
Did you call that? Well, you called it right. Russ McDonald with a huge hand block.
What a wily veteran play.
Regaining possession for Solid. Solid takes the disc. It's a big long throw forward. Who's deep in the end zone to collect that? It's a scrum defended by Kenny Alexander, I think.
Probably not the best decision, considering that Russ McDonald was the only one in the end zone, surrounded by 3 flat ball players.
I would tend to call that an overzealous throw, Rob. BFC put the disc forward. Alexander puts the disc forward. Brilliant catch. Leaping, diving, layout catch by Damien Kwok.
And what a great mental note to have both hands on it to make sure that disc does not drop down and you don't drop it.
Kwok's a great athlete. Andrew Batchelor on the sideline centers the disc. Reset, very smart. There's no mark on that. Lots of time. Batchelor puts it in the end zone. A great attempt again by Damien Kwok. Throwing his body everywhere.
The Bytown Flatball Club didn't show a lot of patience once they got down in the end zone, and that's something that's very common.
Hilbert long, McDonald running, pulls that down. Great catch.
But not quite in the end zone, so he has to wait for all his players to catch up to him again.
That's right. Marked by L'Esperance. Chambers takes the disc. And McDonald gets what we call the full love in Ultimate. He made a hard run, made the catch, and cut in the end zone for the point. Let's see that again. There's a little pop pass. Chambers wide open, unmarked. Throws another pop pass. McDonald throws a sort of a half-hearted leap at the end there to try to make it look athletic.
And then maybe a little spike at the end. There was a little bit of a spike at the end. He was thrown at the feet of the flat ball player.
Now, there's McDonald heaving a sigh after his scoring point. Rob, what's the significance of the spike in Ultimate?
Well, the spike is, because it's a spirited game, sometimes the spike doesn't come out when it's a very spirited game, but when teams get, in the heat of the battle, and they just made a good play. And normally it's the underdog spiking it on the team that's maybe up, and maybe that was just a little bit of a spike. But the spike entails throwing it the disc at the feet of another player,
right?
Or spiking it like in football, or there's all kinds of different creative ways you can do it. But it's starting to come back. I like the spike. I think it's a great.
It can be a sign of defiance,
but you have to do it in a spirited way, which is very difficult.
Right. We often see spikes happening in hotly contested games. Some of the
anger spikes.
Yes.
As opposed to
Dan
the
Sauvé,
friendly spike that
Dan
was.
Sauvé pulling the disc for solid. It's floating. It looks like it will go out of bounds.
The polls haven't been too great, but I think that's a lot to do with the
wind condition.
The wind condition, and also that low pressure. The disc doesn't seem to float as much as it does in the summer.
The wind is very